right now, I want to get into a new segment that we're going to be doing on the show from now on. When I cover a fight ringside, I'm going to give you my ringside report, not only of, yes, we have one written up on the websites and all of that, but not only am I going to give you a ringside report of the fights, but also about the whole atmosphere. Did the promoter do a good job? Was the venue nice? All of that stuff. Did they give you enough fries? Dax Khan was with me, and we tested one of the restaurants there, and they give you plenty of fries. When you order a side dish of French fries, they wheeled a wheelbarrow full of friggin' French fries out to Dax Khan, and he made me buy one off him. I wanted to try one. They looked good. I said, can I have a French fry? I said, Dax, may I please have a French fry? He says, I'll sell you one, man. I'll sell you one. I had to buy a French fry from the bastard. But anyway, main events. Put on a show on Saturday at the Turning Stone Resort and Casino in Verona, New York. Now, this show was televised on NBC Sports, and there was a lot of question marks around this show because on Thursday, the original main event, which was I can never pronounce his first name. I got to give Joe Antonacci a lot of credit because he was the ring announcer, and he certainly pronounced it right. But V. Glazkov was scheduled to fight Tomasz Adamek in what looked like it was going to be a pretty decent heavyweight matchup, where the winner gets to move on to bigger and better things, and the loser just would have gotten a bump in the road, especially if it was Glazkov. But what happened on Thursday was that Tomasz Adamek announced that there was in no way he could compete. He was too sick. He had been suffering from the flu for several days prior, and he had to pull the plug on the fight. But main events, I got to give him a lot of credit. Kathy Duva, who I love. I think she's one of the best people in boxing, and Ellen Haley, who does a lot of the PR stuff. Together with the rest of the people at main events, they got a opponent, and they kept the fight card not only intact, but they swore that Garrett Wilson was going to be a competitive foe for V. Glazkov. Now, I got to be honest with you. I said to myself, no way. But I liked the rest of the card. The rest of the card was pretty decent. Let me tell you what. I asked Ellen Haley before the fight. I said, what kind of condition is Garrett Wilson in? And she said he's always in good shape. And I had my doubts. I really did. I got to be honest. I had my doubts because he only knew about the fight. He had only fought, I believe, either one time this year or no times this year. I don't have his record in front of me, but he was ready to fight. The main event, which was broadcast on NBC, was against Glazkov and Garrett Wilson. And although it seemed wild at times, Garrett Wilson was just lunging. He was even chuckling on himself when he was like throwing these bombs from down by his ankles, and just Glazkov would just move his head. But you know what? It turned into a very entertaining fight. I thought that the way the scores were correct. 98-92 and 98-91. And my man, Don Ackerman, he scored it the same way I did, 97-93, all in favor of Glazkov, who improves to 16-0 with a draw. With 11 knockouts. I'm sorry, no draw. Yes, he's got a draw, 16-0 with one draw and 11 knockouts. Man, somebody must have put something in my cough drop. But I liked it. I thought the main event was good. I know somebody had emailed me before and said, what'd you think of the main event? I thought it was good. And it was good being there live. And I'll tell you another thing. Wilson opened up a cut. Now, we were informed that the first cut that was opened was caused by an unintentional headbutt. But it definitely started giving Glazkov some trouble. Now, he was rocked at the end of one round. And then after that, I scored the next two rounds in favor of Garrett Wilson. But then Wilson ran out of gas, and he coasted to the end, and I think that those last 2 rounds solidified the win for Glasgow. So nonetheless, it was a pretty decent main event, and I think main events deserves a lot of credit for keeping this card together. Now, the co-main event put 2 undefeated young lightweights in the ring against each other. Carl Dargan, who's out of Philly, and Mike Brooks out of Long Island. And this fight was also entertaining. And we talk about boxers, right? We talk about sweet science and stuff. Well, this was a tale of 2 boxers. This had Carl Dargan, who was the boxer. This was a kid that, if there's any improvement, in my opinion, he needs to keep his hands up. His hands were down way too much, but he's very athletic, and he was able to move his head out of the way, and his punches were fast and extremely accurate. He was able to pinpoint his punches, and I think that made the difference. Now, Michael Brooks was the guy, in my opinion, who was pressing the action. He was the guy that was making the fight. He did things correctly. He pressed the action. He was throwing punches. He was throwing lots of punches. He was listening to his corner. But here's what he did wrong. He was able to cut the ring in half, which was what you always hope that a fighter can do to a boxer. Cut the ring off, cut the ring off. That's what you're always hearing them say. But it's not just about cutting the ring off. You got to cut the ring off and throw punches. Otherwise, you're chasing the fighter around. And that seemed to be what was the case in some of the fight. Now, I will tell you this. I thought the fight was a little closer than some of the judges. One judge had it 98-92, and the other 2 had it 99-91. All in favor of Carl Dargan, but I thought it was the other way around. I thought that it was 97-93, but anyway, so I'm happy to say that Carl Dargan won the fight. Brooks is going to be back. He drops to 11-1-1, and Dargan is 14-0 with 7 knockouts. So. Impressive 2 young fighters going at it. In the super middleweight fight, Andy Mahias out of Utica, who seemed to have a pretty big fan base there, he improved to 14-0 against Latif Monday. This fight was scored 39-37. And and 38. One judge had it. 2 judges had it 39-37. One judge had it 38-38, giving Mahias the majority decision win. Isaac Chilimba was on this card as well. He didn't look that good for the first 2 rounds. Then he looked pretty good. He fought a very tough and game Michael Jabenga. Now Jabenga. This is something I noticed up until the main event. Every fighter that came out seemed dry, and the Golden Boy Isaac Chilimba, he was not even the least bit warmed up, and it took him the first couple of rounds to warm up. But then after that, he won a workman-like fight. Now I thought Jabenga was in this fight until he kind of ran out of gas at the end as well. And when all was said and done, one judge scored it 80-72, and 2 other judges scored it 79-73, all in favor of Chilimba, who now improves to 21 wins, 2 losses, and 2 draws, with 9 of his W's coming by knockout. And Michael Jabenga, he drops to 16-10. With 16 knockouts. So I thought that was a decent fight, in my opinion, after the first 2 rounds. What I thought was the only fight that the judges didn't get right was the one that opened up the night. Qantas Graves was undefeated, and he stepped in with Sevdal Sharifi. And I thought that this fight was I would have given this fight a draw. I thought it was extremely close, but apparently one judge scored. I'm sorry. The fight, I felt that the fight should have went to Sharifi. I thought Sharifi did enough to win this fight. However, the judges saw it a little differently. One judge saw it for Graves, one judge saw it, and the other two saw it even at 57-57. So, that was the only one I thought that the judges got wrong. But to be honest with you, I thought it was a good card. And I got to be honest when I say I had my doubts, but it was a good card. It turned out to be good. It started off, I was like feeling bad for main events and Turning Stone because it started off with a very sparse crowd. If you recall, the fight card started in the afternoon. But it filled up, man. It filled up. By the time the main event kicked off, it was pretty much full. So I think overall, you missed a good show if you didn't go. Main Events does a great job. Turning Stone is a great place to watch a fight if you've never seen one there. And the only thing I can recommend is that if you go to a fight and you ever bump into Dax Khan, don't ask him for any food because, he's certainly not going to cut loose with any French fries. I will tell you this. We went and ate, I think it was called the Emerald. The Emerald restaurant was the restaurant we went and ate at after the fight. And the food was good. So the food was good. The casino was great. The arena was good. The promoter did a good job. Listen, overall, I have nothing negative to say, believe it or not, about the card. So, hey, in the future, we will do, I might separate these and do these separate, but I thought it's what you missed, man. You missed a good card. You missed a couple of fries from Dax Khan, and you missed a couple of scotches with me, man, because we had a couple after the fight. But anyway, great card. There was some decent fights over the weekend. And that was certainly one. I'm glad it was on NBC, and I got a chance to talk to Larry Hazard. He was doing the unofficial ringside scorer, and he did a good job there. And the only thing I'm going to say is the punch stat people, man. I saw them in action, and now I have zero faith in punch stats.